Hit it. All right. We are good. We are good. Adam, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, it's great to be here.
It's nice for you to be on my show. I've been on your show a couple of times and always had a great amount of fun with the guests that you pull on. So, yeah, I really appreciate that and appreciate all the work that you've done in the space, which we're going to get talking about a lot. But first of all, I have to hand over the mic to Lauren here because she always asks the first question. So, what's your question for Adam?
Hi.
Hi, how you doing? I'm great.
Good, thank you. So my question is, why did you start a YouTube channel?
Oh, well, that's a broader question, isn't it? I didn't start a YouTube channel because of Bitcoin. I started it because of Baltimore, where I'm from. Back in the first decade of this century, this millennium, I was a activist in Baltimore, where I'm from. It's a city on the East Coast, right north of Washington, D.C. And I got a bunch of people to move to this one rundown block in Baltimore City, and we fixed up houses and lived in the houses. We didn't flip the houses, we lived in the houses. It was called the Buy a Block Project. And I got into all sorts of Baltimore activist-related activities because of it, because I had to deal with the government and the crime and all sorts of drama. And I started to document my Baltimore adventures, and YouTube had just come around then. So that's why I started the channel, for Baltimore related reasons. I was going to eventually expand it into like a Baltimore news channel, but I was making these Baltimore videos. Not too many people were interested in them. And then when Bitcoin came along, I decided to make one Bitcoin video, and it generated more energy and more interest, and I really got going with that. So Baltimore will always have a special place in my heart, but Bitcoin totally took over on the video side. So that's why I started making videos for Baltimore related. That's why I opened the channel. It's just totally Baltimore stuff. It was called Baltimore Hourly, was the original name of the channel, and it's still in some of my email addresses, but it became the BitcoinMeister channel when I became the BitcoinMeister.
And I was going to ask you to do the intro so Lauren could hear your intro because you have the best intro of any show. So, if you want to run it past Lauren, rub some stank on it. She doesn't believe. I told her, Adam's a cool, fun, crazy guy. You're going to have fun with him. And she's like, why is he cool, fun, and crazy? I'm like, well, you just wait.
Well,
So
you
go
didn't
on.
say he was cool and fun. You said he was crazy.
Well, that was the
That was the implication. All right.
that was the
All right. So we're
implication
gonna see.
exactly.
Right now, I'm the uncool Adam, so I gotta change. Hang on. Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is May the 27th, 2021. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Golden age of the 2020s. You're lucky to be a young one in this golden age, I'll tell you that. Offended by selling. All right.
Okay.
You see how he can just
Yeah.
switch on like that? I mean,
Yeah.
this is a guy that.
Daddy,
Did
you
you
need to
study
get
media or
crazy.
anything when you were in college, or is this just something that like you're just naturally drawn to?
I can just turn it on and off, and I just want to point out to everyone, this is me. I only drink water. So when I can turn that energy on, it's coming from inside. And I think it's some people don't get it. They think it's something's off. Why can he just turn it on and off without coffee or soda or worse? No, I mean, if you've got the natural love of life and energy, you should be able to just eat it up with your own inside force. Yeah, I don't use anything to change my insides. No medications or anything. I mean, I'm trying to keep it family friendly. I don't want to use bad words. But no, I love life, and it's nothing that I learned. It's just I've always had this energy. I mean, once I remember in art class, a teacher was like, "Why are you smiling?" And I was just like, "I smile." I just thought I was laughing at her or something like that.
Man, that must have been weird as a kid. Were you ever like always turn off FaceTime, Daniel? Oh my goodness! Of all the shows, when you're dealing with pros such as Adam. All right, do you want to say goodbye to Adam and then go take that call because it's
okay.
Nanny and Granddad?
Yeah.
I won't edit this. This is all part of the craziness.
So should I take your phone or should I?
Yeah, just take the phone.
Wait,
Yeah.
this one. Okay.
Say goodbye to Adam.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Well,
podcast.
that's what I love about these. That's how I do my shows. I don't edit anything out. I love interruptions. I love when people come running in or something happens or something. I mean, that's because I want people to know who I really am, to see what my real life is, what life is. Because when people meet me in person, they're like, yeah, that's the guy that I saw on YouTube. That's you. Oh, it is. It is. It really is. So I love when things happen like that. That people get a little glimpse of the inside of my life.
So I was going to ask you, if you were this bouncy at school, man, that must have been a tough time because, those four walls aren't really kind of built for kids with a high amount of energy that love life and want to have fun during the day and,
Well, I do have I have another talent, and I can definitely focus. I can definitely focus and turn it off. And so I play by their rules. I knew how to play by the rules. When I look back at school, and I don't think I really grasped what learning was. I knew what it took to get good grades. So I would just understand it to a point and remember the information to a point where I could regurgitate. I was such a regurgitator of information. I didn't get that I guess because I wasn't really interested in the stuff. But it didn't frustrate me. I just thought that was the way school was. Like, you have to get good grades. So get good grades. And the way I figured out to get good grades was, and they weren't the best grades, but it was to regurgitate stuff. I always enjoyed going to recess afterwards. I loved playing, soccer or baseball with my friends and getting outside. I did enjoy that, but I was able to control myself inside very well. I can definitely listen, and I had listening comprehension. If they told me to do this, I didn't stick out too much. Other than the smiling and stuff, but I didn't try to offend. I didn't try to question them, or the teachers. And I went to private school, so it was a pretty safe environment. Like, who knows what it would. Thank God, my parents, they worked very hard to make sure I didn't have to go to public school. It could have been a lot different, and things probably would have turned out in a completely different. Who knows? Who knows? But it worked out fine, and it really wasn't until I was after college. Even in college, I was just still trying to regurgitate stuff. Really, there were some subject matters that I became a little bit more interested in, and some things that really stuck in my head. But there were just some classes you had to take to get the business degree. And like, I remember finance class. I didn't really understand what I was even learning back then. I was just regurgitating it. And with college too, I was just there to, I could play by the rules. I could get the good grades, but I wasn't that interested in again, learning. I was there to have fun and socialize. And I did have a great time. It was a really great experience. But it wasn't until after college, and thank God for the internet, that I really started to want to understand more about life in general, and just and that my creative side really came out afterwards, and my unique beast side really took control of things. And that's a long answer to your what was school like for you, Adam?
Did you slide into a fiat career at that point, straight out of college, do the usual thing, go find a job? What was that next little stepping stone?
That's interesting, because I had an internship in college, because I thought, all right, it's your junior year, it's the summer, you're supposed to get a job eventually. Thus, the summer before you look for a job, you're supposed to look for an internship. And you will get an internship anywhere. It doesn't matter. And I got it at a boring big corporation. and I saw what that was, and I thought that was normal. But the .com thing it didn't have anything to do with the internet, really. I think my job dealt with the internet a little bit. I had a marketing degree, so it wasn't in the marketing side of this company. But when I got back to college, again, what I loved about college was like my free time. And I really got into the internet at college, into, of all things, well, I've always been a big Baltimore sports fan, but I got into the Baltimore Ravens football team and just battling people online and making websites and going to forums. And I really got the hang of the forums, and I taught myself to make a website. And they didn't teach you that in college, how to use HTML, but I taught myself that. So because of the activities I was doing on my free time, well, most of my free time in college, it was a lot of partying and stuff, but the productive activities I was doing on my free time, I wanted to get a job in the internet. And like college wasn't even offering, like they just put you on this path of like working for these Anderson Consulting or whoever, Accenture, whatever it was, and just all these boring jobs. So I had the desire to work for a .com at least. That wasn't really, that was beyond, that was different. That was being a unique beast. I mean, it sort of was it wasn't a giant corporate mega, that was really the fiat job of the time. So yeah, I was able to somehow on my own find a job at an internet company. Yeah, and I had to go to New York. I started in New York, and then I was in Silicon Valley. But I got taught, even though it was much better than working at a giant corporation, much more freedom. I mean, and I was learning skills, definitely internet skills. But some of the older people, they just could not grasp the internet, and they just had an old school take on everything. And it was frustrating sometimes working with these people. And I think what started coming out in me was that although I could work with all sorts of different people, and I could really explain things well to others that were on the same level as me or a little bit beneath me, the people who were my bosses, just, if we weren't on the same level, there was just this conflict. Like I didn't want to do what they were telling me to do because they didn't know what they were talking about. So way back then, I even figured out, this internet thing, why do I have to be living in the most expensive part of the country? Why do I have to be living in San Francisco area or in the Manhattan area? Why, the internet gives us all this freedom. Why can't I start my own business back in Baltimore City? So my frustration with my bosses, and they weren't bad people or anything, it's just they were kind of behind the times, just led me to go back to Baltimore and start my own business and really kind of, I'm like, I could save money. I could just run it from my apartment. And that's what I did. I started my own business. I ran it from my apartment. I mean, it sounds so familiar now. Everybody's running a business over Zoom. They work for themselves. They don't have to work. They can telecommute and all this stuff. I was doing this years ago. So I started, so I got out of, I was still earning fiat, of course, but it was not I was not traditional at all. And I then was able to buy a really cheap house in a bad neighborhood and do what I was talking about beforehand, is buy a block project. And I was, I was always able to make money just all sorts of different ways, from renting out parts of my house, from running my own business, from doing something that I loved, like I like karaoke. So I started my own karaoke on Thursday nights. I was doing that at an El Salvadoran bar. I would do, and it was just enjoying life, doing things outside the box. I'm sure this is not shocking anyone that's familiar with my show, because I say be a unique beast. Well, I've been a unique beast for quite some time. But what I would love to do is I got into just on the internet. It wasn't just sports. And with sports, I've got a statistical mind or a numeric mind. So I just loved to, I gobbled up all the numbers and remembering all the records. But I got into, when you're going around the internet, you see all sorts of stuff. And I got into economic sites, alternative economic sites, and learning about anarchy and Doug Casey. And like, I didn't know about any of these philosophical stuff in college. I didn't deal with philosophy in college. You really should. I mean, back in the old days, that's why you went to college. You learned the philosophy. But by the time I came along, and now it's horrible. You don't learn anything. Philosophy should be I mean, I bet at my private school back in the day, they used to teach philosophy. That should be really a subject matter everyone learns. But it's for intelligent people. It's you know, they kind of dumb everything down so everyone. That's not what college is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about high achievers. I could have understood philosophy, but I had no idea. But you start learning about it on the internet, it blows you away. And it's really, you know, I was just into I was into such traditional politics, left versus right, and even though I studied political science and everything, I knew how they did it in Europe, and I knew how they did it. They had more political parties in Europe than they did in America, but I didn't, you know, go deeper than that. And with the internet, it just opened up my mind to money also, and again, technology. So when I would eventually see the combination of technology and money with this Bitcoin thing, I was like, oh yeah, this is awesome, because I'm into money, I'm into technology. I'm into alternative ways of looking at things now. That took a little while to get into that. And so it was the perfect time to find all that stuff. And but I did get into, before I found Bitcoin, I was looking at these. But the sad thing was, all these alternative ways of looking at the economy, they seemed to revolve around doom at the time. Like everything is going to fall apart. You need to have your gold and to build a bunker in your basement. And it's about to fall apart now because Obama's president. It's the time has come. It's all going to it's going to end. The housing crisis is going to turn into this, and it's just everything's going to fall. But through living life and observation, I saw, wait a second, he doesn't control the world, and like people are still doing pretty well, and people did well during the Great Depression. This is no Great Depression. So I started to take the emotion out of politics too. I think that's very important for people to do today, because it seems like since then, since 2011, since 2009, 10, 8, people have become much more emotional about politics, and it's become such a much bigger part of their lives. But I was able to take them down from a pedestal. I did used to put politicians on a pedestal. I thought they would control the destiny of my life on a certain level. But you have to understand, no, you have complete control over the destiny of your life. You know, if you're in an authoritarian regime, get out. If you're in a state where there are no jobs because they've done insane, the politicians have created insane regulations, get out. Get out, find a way out. You've got a brain that can fit. Don't be a tree, be in motion. That's one of my sayings. But okay, I rambled on there for a little while.
Well, Adam, I've got no threads to pull on with that little rant. I am actually trying to imagine you taking emotion out of anything, to be honest with you. You know, the fact that you managed to take emotion out of politics, being such an emotional guy. But you touched on something there that I've brought up before, and touched on this. And you're a millennial, I'm guessing, or are you?
I'm something out there. I don't even know what I am anymore. But I've lived my life, but continue.
Yeah. So this problem in the workplace that I saw started to manifest as well, which was very concerning. That the new guys coming into the workplace were coming in with all of these skills that the older guys just had no idea what was going on, and the business was changing so quickly, and the legacy guys just, for whatever reason, dug their heels in, and it's like, no, this is how we do it, and this is what we do, and this is the process, sit down, shut up. But these younger guys are like you were saying, that makes no sense. I can fix that in a second, and we can speed this process up like 10x, 100x. Why would you not do that? And that's where this whole narrative was born, that you know, millennials are entitled and they're lazy and all of this kind of crap. And it was just this complete misunderstanding of the technical shift that had happened within our technology and within the younger generation, just like grasping this technology so quickly. And I still can't understand. So if I, you know, look at the boomer generation, I was talking to this with a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, think about the technology shift these guys went through. You know, when they were kids, they were taking baths in like tin cans in water that their mother had warmed up on the stove, right? And it was crazy. But then all of a sudden, come the 70s, they've got black and white televisions, color televisions. Then they've got video recorders, VCRs, Betamax, whatever. Then you got microwaves, washing machines, dishwashers. This explosion of technology. Then come the computers. Then comes the internet, and they're like, nah, fuck that, we're done. And there's too much technology going on here, and they've never embraced it. It's the weirdest fucking thing. And I know I'm painting a broad brush across boomers, and please don't DM me or whatever else. But I think people are probably getting the point I'm trying to make. So I can understand and have empathy with the younger guys that are coming into these legacy financial businesses and just hitting a brick wall, especially after 4 years of college and masters or PhDs, whatever, and to get there and see what it is.
Well, you mentioned a master's. I think some of the MBAs who got MBAs a long time ago, they are just stuck in whatever was ingrained. I think that was part of the problem I recognized back then, that they had their MBA, they earned their MBA, they were going to do it their way, the way they were taught. And it's not their fault that some MBA guys just do not have technical understanding of technology, at least. I mean, they like Procter and Gamble. They know how to run Procter and Gamble. That's what they. And this ain't Procter and Gamble anymore. All right, so it's that was the clash that I saw going on. So it's not necessarily. I mean, they're not open to new ideas. They just have. Well, they're not. They have something ingrained in their head that worked for years and years. And again, I noticed quite a few years ago, you didn't need to be corporate anymore. You didn't need a corporate headquarters, and they're only waking up to this now. And part of the reason is because of the MBA-based education. You don't really even need an MBA. MBA just repeats everything we learned in BSBA in undergrad. It's just much more intense. I mean, I saw when I was getting my BSBA, I went to college at Washington University in St. Louis, by the way, for anyone wondering out there. And I'm from Baltimore, Maryland originally. I think people get that. And St. Louis is like the Baltimore of the Midwest, by the way. So it wasn't a big change for me. But I would see the MBAs around, and I mean they would have like the same textbooks that we did, but it was just it was more intense, and it just. You get your MBA when you already have like 6 years of work experience, so you do have a new take on things, but it's textbook type of stuff that was written who knows how many years ago, and to really right now it's not about textbooks anymore. It's not. Everything evolves every freaking year. That's what I said to your daughter. It's the golden age. Things are moving so fast now, so fast. I mean, I'm talking about 2011 and 12, whatever, discovering Bitcoin back in the day. Things move much faster. The phones are so much better now than back then. I mean, you've got to get smartphones. Everybody's got a smartphone. Back then, no, it wasn't like that. I'm saying back then, it was only 11 years ago. It's amazing. This golden age is amazing. But what it does is it just really, it can put people that are set in their ways just way behind the curve, and they're going to miss out. And that's why, I mean, they could have fun staying poor, and they're not really staying poor, they're just staying where they are. But if you're willing to just pivot all the freaking time, not get stuck in these MBA paradigms. I don't even know if they have MBAs anymore now. I mean, everybody took a year off in the world. So who knows? I mean, so an okay thing about this year off is that I think a lot of people woke up to this college paradigm, whether it be undergrad or graduate, it's just not worth it anymore. I mean, it's why? You could just you start your own business in your house, move around the whole world, get a new apartment here, there, just always be changing. You don't need to worship the corporate HQ paradigm anymore.
And this is what you do, right? And I want you to talk about this. You have this digital nomad lifestyle, and you've been doing it for a long time. As far as I'm aware, you've been living in Airbnbs for a fair amount of time.
Yes. So again, I did have that house in Baltimore, but I got rid of that eventually in the middle of the teens here. So I have been on the road, really on the road since 2016, 2017. Yeah. And it's just Airbnb to Airbnb to Airbnb. Or I befriend I befriend an Airbnb person, and then I rent from them outside of Airbnb. There's in LA. I've got a guy that I've become friends with. But no, there's no permanent home. I have to go back to Baltimore 4 times a year to the family compound to take care of business for holidays. But my love of Baltimore, it's not the same. I love the people of Baltimore. I love my family, my friends, and everything. But man, it is a dangerous place. It is a danger. All the young hip people are like, oh, it's not that bad here. Come on, this is what you have to deal with in an inner city, the drugs and the crime. No, it's extreme. It is extreme in Baltimore. Okay, I've been to cities all over this planet. The only thing that can compare is like South Africa in terms of a danger. South African cities are more dangerous. You have to live in a walled-in compound. I mean, the houses are beautiful, but they're behind walls and razor wire. Have you been to South Africa before?
No, but I know this. Yeah.
I've been to Bitcoiners' houses there, and they deal with it. During the day, there's activities to do outside. You're on your bike. It's good weather. At night, the supermarkets close early. It's really extreme. But Baltimore is at Baltimore at night on the streets, you can get jacked. I mean, you really can get jacked. That was one of the things that woke me up to make me a digital nomad. In 2013, I was walking to the club one night, and 2 youth approached me and pulled out a gun. And it was either fight or flight, baby. And I ran into the street screaming, and they ran in the other direction, thank God. And the police came. And, with me, I was so happy afterwards. I was so happy to be alive. I was just on fire. It was like I was on every drug in the freaking world. And again, I do no drugs. I was just so happy. Some people, when they get a gun pulled on them like that, it's a bad experience. They have nightmares about it. Oh no, it was a complete opposite with me. It was like this feeling of victory. They did not take my life. They did not take my money. I get to go to the club with a police escort, and I'm telling everybody, and I'm like, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of Baltimore. I cannot die here, and I have to see the world. And shortly after that's when I bought my first 2 Bitcoin too. It was all in So that everything changed, and so that was a very positive thing. And I can make jokes about whatever happened then. I mean, it was a real quick thing, and thank God. It ends really badly for some people. Obviously, it changed my life in an awesome, a totally awesome way, and just really got me in motion. Because I was a little stuck. I was loyal to Baltimore City. I was loyal to the project. I'm like, I can't leave this. I started this project. I started this house. I can't be greedy and make a profit off of this house. I had that even though I was learning about different financial paradigms and different financial ways of looking at things philosophically, I still had the guilt and felt like I owed Baltimore something. But after that gun got pulled, it changed. It changed real fast, and I'm glad it did. So I forgot what the question was now.
It doesn't matter. That's a crazy story. So how did you find Bitcoin then? I mean, like you've had this experience, and then obviously thoughts start clicking into place for you. How on earth did you? What was it? An article, a conversation, a pod?
Well, but before that 2013, August 2nd, 2013 experience on the streets of Baltimore, I knew about Bitcoin. It was just that made me change my life to finally get me to buy the darn Bitcoin. But I found out about Bitcoin through the alternative economic site. So, I mean, Doug Casey didn't talk about Bitcoin, but he was one of the guys who just woke me up to just, stop worshiping these politicians, and you can, there's different ways of looking at, different ways of looking at things politically and financially that people traditionally do in the United States. And I found, I don't like saying the name of the site, because the cool thing about Bitcoin, the craziest people in the world can be in the Bitcoin and you can't do anything about it. They can own Bitcoin and you can. Bad people can own Bitcoin. But back after Doug Casey, I was led into something called the Dollar Vigilante. And he was talking about Bitcoin early on. There is no doubt about it. You have to say he was talking about Bitcoin early on. before I guess his drug problem or alcohol problem really hadn't taken over his life at that point, because he did become crazier in the head, and he made up something called the Shemitah that was that the world was, he was a real doomer, real into the doom and gloom. But it was because of him that I did learn about Bitcoin. And there were probably some other sites I don't remember that would bring it up. And because it was in 2011, he probably was talking about it. And so I definitely heard about it by 2012. And I was here, RT, I think, would even talk about it occasionally. And I found out about RT because of all those, and RT can be, hit or miss. I mean, they present some interesting ways of looking at politics and money. But they have their biases definitely too. But they did talk about Bitcoin early on, and from that I did learn Max Kaiser. I'm not a big fan of Max Kaiser or anything like that either, because I can remember when Max Kaiser was talking about altcoins and stuff. I do not agree with him politically on many different things, to say the least. But those dudes back then who owned. Well, I don't know if Dollar Vigilante still owns Bitcoin, but you can't prevent them from owning Bitcoin and having their political opinions. But I was willing to, despite my differences with those dudes, I didn't run away from Bitcoin. It triggered my interest in it and kept it in my head. And there was some FOMO in 2013. Like I can remember at the beginning of 2013, there was a big pump, and I was interested in it, but I didn't want to send money to Mt. Gox. And it sounded, I'm not wiring money to Japan. I'm not doing that. That's not what Americans do. We don't need to wire money. That's something they do in like Africa or something. Like I would not do. I don't trust that. I don't wire money. It sounds like something from 1980. Why is this hard? It shouldn't be. So that turned me off. And then I saw it dropped. And I'm like, oh, good, it dropped. That means I didn't miss. But I was like, yeah, good. Maybe it's just a fad. Maybe it's just a fad. But when it started pumping again, and I had already lived through the experience of my life being threatened, and that I wanted to change everything. And Coinbase was around also by the end of 2013. Just everything came together. So in November of 2013, I bought 2 Bitcoin, and I immediately started talking about it to my friends at Thanksgiving. It was right before Thanksgiving, and I just became a big talker about it. And I had this Baltimore video channel, so I was like, why don't I make a Bitcoin video? And so I made a Bitcoin video, and that was my first one in 2013. But and that, I had skin in the game at that point. I mean, I just kept talking about it and was so interested. And even though I still owned a house in Baltimore at that time, I went on a big travel binge at the beginning of 2014. And well, at least I wasn't in Baltimore. I was in LA, and I was buying more Bitcoin slowly but surely, and just learning more and more from the few resources that were out there back then. There was no Bitcoin social media. There were a few guys did YouTube videos, and it was so small. The Bitcoin podcasting YouTube stuff, it didn't get big until the altcoin stuff went crazy in 2017, because it was so much. All of a sudden, you had all this altcoin trash out there in 2017. Like even in 2016, there was just a few YouTubers, and I was one of them. I was one of the dudes. But I mean, now it's just exponential. It's like, which is good. It's great that so many people are talking about it. So many normies, so many people who do not get it at all have channels. I mean, they know how to follow the algorithm. They know what keywords to put in there. They don't even know that. It's going to crash. It's going to zero. It's going to a million. One thing, the most ridiculous headline grabbing stuff, mindless stuff you could talk about, they talk about. Back in the day, when people would say, I think it's going to zero, they really did. In 2015, there were people that were scared of that. It was great to freaking live through the era where you knew, like, that's not legitimate FUD anymore. It's freaking 2016. It's going up now. It's not going to zero. We made it through this freaking thing, dude. We made it through this freaking thing. And it was then when I got into Penny Lingham, who a lot of people don't like anymore. But he was saying, he's like, this in 2017, it's going to be $3,000. And this is in 2016 when it was like $500. And he said, it's come out of its doldrums. It's going up. Eventually, countries are going to buy this stuff for their reserves. And I'm like, that really stuck in my head. I'm like, yeah, that is going to happen eventually. I gotta really ramp up my buying. And so I ramped up my buying and I ramped up my video making too in 2016. And you can see it in my videos. I'm getting, as the halving was approaching, I'm getting crazier and crazier with this stuff. Because I kept on buying and buying and buying. I wanted to buy, like I got into my head, I gotta buy as much before this halving. I gotta buy, because it might get stuck at a high price, because it would go up. Before the halving, it was ramping up, 400, 500, 600, finally 700. I'm like, oh my God, I can't miss out. And I was buying plenty at 700. And then after the, well, first of all, before the halving, I think there was a hack of some sort. It crashed, and you know, I was like, oh, I bought all this for 700. It's 500. Okay. And but there were people that were like, oh, people were so stupid to buy it at 700. It's 500 now. And it was good. I got to the goal that I wanted to get to, and I just within a few months, you know, by the end of the year, I had a big smile on my face because I saw like, no. That 700 was a darn good deal. And you know, by the time 2017 started, it never went back to 700 again. Never, ever, ever. So yeah, I really got the hang of things, you know. So for the next, so one of my sayings right after that was like 2020 halving, strong hand. Strong hand. You've got to be able to make it, people. Because I made it to this 2016 thing. I saw it go a little below 200 for a few seconds there in 2015. And I just said, I've seen the worst of this. You guys got to be able to do it too. It's a 4 freaking year cycle. This halving thing is legitimate. It's the best freaking monetary, the most reliable freaking monetary policy out there. I mean, if that's one easy takeaway anyone should get from Bitcoin. We've got all these monetary policies all over the world. They're constantly changing. You know, the United States, I mean, you got a pretty good idea. They're going to print a lot of money. But it's a pretty capitalistic country. They're not going to change things too much. I mean, but certain countries, it's insane. You never know what they're going to do one day or the other. With Bitcoin, it does not change. They're 21 million. It's every 4 years. There's a halving. It can't be printed out. It's very simple. It's very boring. And some people just can't take the boring, but there is value in that boredom. Because we're living in a world now, you know, again, we sit how quickly things are changing. There's no truth anymore. There's no reliability. Everyone is lying. Everyone is changing everything from day to day. You might think you're getting into one thing, but you just flip the switch on. No, that's not what you really bought, dude. That's not what it really is. But with Bitcoin, it does not change. It is the security truth machine. A lot of normies, they don't get it, though. They don't care about the lies. That's just the way life is. I mean, in certain countries, they've been brought up this way. In Argentina, yeah, every 10 years it's going to change. Every 10 years it's going to get inflated away. Every 10 years we're going to get robbed. That's government. That's just the way it is. We get robbed every 10 years. That's nonsense, dude. When this alternative is available, and I have been to Argentina, and I've talked to smart Argentines who've gotten into Bitcoin. I don't see how they all don't get into it at this point. I've been to South Africa, as I mentioned before, and I know plenty of Bitcoiners there who have saved their tuchlises, okay? But the rand isn't as bad as the Argentine peso, obviously. But it can be at any moment. It could be. Their government, they do radical things over there. You don't know, their monetary policy changes real quick when they say, oh yeah, well maybe we're going to take the farmers' land now. I mean, that was a legitimate thing that came up in 2018. We're going to follow Zimbabwe's lead, a complete failure. I mean, every Zimbabwean is trying to get into South Africa because of what Zimbabwe did. And now South Africa wants to do what Zimbabwe did. It's insane. So why mess with these sociopathic leaders? You see what they do, what they can do with their central banks and their monetary policy, when there's something nice and boring and never changing that's out there that anyone can get into in any decrepit country on the planet. You can get into it, okay, if you've got an internet connection. Obviously in North Korea, they don't have an internet connection, so that's a little bit different, and I've never been there, nor do I plan to go there until they are free. But yeah, it's the boredom of Bitcoin, the impulsive generation, they're going to still be impulsive and ignore it. It's, you know, there are all these people out there that say it's the key to saving the world financially. It's going to destroy fiat. No. It's for smart people to opt into, because the 80%, they're never going to get it. They're never going to get it. They love being slaves, and it is going to be an awesome alternative to preserve the wealth of people whose wealth it deserves to be preserved, because they've gone the extra mile to learn. They've earned it, okay? That's justice, okay? I don't care about social justice. I care about, individual justice. It's justice that I work hard, I learn, I figure out a way to preserve my wealth. I'm able to preserve it. There's that option for me. If you don't want that, I mean, you're not gonna. Your wealth isn't gonna be preserved if you don't take the initiative to figure out how to do it. If you just are Joe Normie, you are going to get inflated away, and you're going to be forced to keep up with the Joneses and just be on a hamster wheel, working for the corporations. And not that all. I mean, the corporate entity is a necessity, I guess, in the world. But you don't have to do that. You can live an outside the box, technologically based lifestyle if you want to. But you've got to make some choices, okay? And if you want to be a unique beast, Bitcoin is that option. That is definitely out there for people. But most people are not going to figure it out. Most people, fiat is not going away. And the most popular fiat in the world is the US dollar. It will become more powerful in terms of its fiat dominance once the Fed coin comes into existence. And everyone in the planet will have easy access to this Fed coin thing. And a lot of them will dump their third world currencies, okay? So some of these third world currencies, they definitely are going to be gone, okay? It's the bigger currencies of the world will be what more people rely on more and more. And cryptocurrency stuff, but most people, again, they will opt into whatever is easiest, not what is best. And I think Fed coin and China coin and yen coin or euro coin, they're all going to be very easy, and there'll be negative interest rates eventually too. So this will be you'll probably get all sorts of bonuses for being in that system. They'll figure out all sorts of incentives to keep you there, but they'll be quite superficial when compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be the true way to preserve your wealth, because with all those coins, those digital. Those digital national Fed coins, they will be able to be inflated away just as easy as they are now. But they'll have the full pressure of fitting in that the government is very good with its propaganda lately. It has gotten people to be such sheep. So it will be so easy to get them to be Fed coin sheeps. It'll be really, really easy. And that's why I love Bitcoin, but I am not the guy that says it's taken over the freaking world and that everyone is going to become a Bitcoin. No.
Man, listen, if you can tell people that they need to download an app and scan a QR code every time they go into a shop so we can track exactly where you are at all time, they'll download an app that is going to have free digital Fed money wired to them immediately, right?
Yes.
It's an absolute gimme.
Yes. Yep. There you go. That's your answer. That's how you'll get them hooked, man. Definitely.
Man, it's crazy. It's funny you bring up Jeff Berwick, the dollar vigilante. I had not thought about that guy in so long, but I found him when I started entering the rabbit hole in 2014. And I got to say, I'm sure Jeff doesn't listen to these shows anymore, but, thanks, brother, because he was talking about Bitcoin at that point, and he opened my eyes, along with some other guys back in those early days. Trace was around then, and
but it was so much different than him.
Completely.
Say them in the same sentence.
No, but
they're different than Jeff. Much different.
100%, and Andreas, obviously. But like you were saying, it was tough. It was tough to find these. But it's the reason Jeff came to mind was I picked up the Book of Satoshi the other day, and he wrote the foreword. I was like, holy shit, I forgot about that guy. Like, what's he doing? Like,
did he really write it? I heard he had ghostwriting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Yep.
Who's another name from back then was Roger Ver. And what a name he was. Before the Bcash stuff, everybody loved Roger. Everybody, and he used that to his advantage, because when he was doing that Bcash stuff, before it was even called Bcash, when he was talking about the block size debate, many people did not want to say anything bad about him because he was so big, but he was so well liked. They did not. There was finally a turning point where there was no return. I mean, he really taken it to a certain level, but most people would have been criticized much more so than he was in the early days of his quest, okay? There were many people that just let him talk and talk about this nonsense and just gave it. He was the biggest freaking name in Bitcoin still in 2017 by far, and that's why Bcash was able to be what it was. And so you're repeating the cycle right now. Like whatever he would do, I mean, the market would react at a certain level. People would panic. And now we're seeing somehow Elon Musk has somehow become that. Like whatever he does, whatever he is the biggest guy in Bitcoin, even though he wasn't a bit like Roger Ver, he was there from the very beginning. You knew why Roger Ver was the biggest guy in Bitcoin. Elon Musk has become the biggest guy because he was a rich, one of the richest men on earth. He wasn't into Bitcoin beforehand, but I mean, Elon Musk has just become this guy who can just, too many people put him on a pedestal, just like too many people put Roger Ver on a pedestal. And what everyone will learn in the long run, I mean, they can just look back to Roger Ver. He doesn't, what he says now, it doesn't affect the market, doesn't matter at all. That's what eventually happens. The market sorts itself out. It sorts these pedestal people out of the system. It rejects them. But there are times when individuals, just because we are still early, where individuals can have quite a lot of influence over certain aspects of the debate, which can bleed into the price and bleed into the momentum of the price, which we saw now. That this month of May has been Elon's FUD month, and I don't think he wanted to cause all these problems. I don't know. I can't read his mind, but he sparked a lot of interesting issues. So the big thing that helped put Roger on a pedestal in terms of, well, in a negative way, was block size FUD. Block size FUD was the FUD of the last cycle. Now, as I predicted during this last year, the major FUD is the energy stuff, this ESG nonsense. It's killing the environment. Bitcoin is killing the environment. And there's other FUD people still use, like there's not enough Bitcoin, poor people can't get, they might start talking about, we need to make more Bitcoin. That'll be brought into the debate. Maybe that'll be brought into the energy thing somehow. But we're definitely, it's not ending, this ESG, energy, mining, blood coin. It kind of, that's a little bit different, blood coin, because it's like, oh, some of it's dirty, so that gets into fungibility and gets into regulation. But still, all this, it's all status stuff, whether it be blood coin, whether it be energy. It's all these status narratives that we hear in the mainstream are bleeding into Bitcoin, and those are the attack vectors right now. And Elon played right into that with the energy stuff. So his name is going to be, so he can have this mining council now too. And unfortunately, Saylor joined the mining council, I assume, well, I hope, for marketing reasons. Like he wants to grab this thing he wants to grab it right now and just take a hold of the narrative and marketing wise say, no, Bitcoin is great for the environment. Bitcoin is great for the environment. Bitcoin isn't destroying the environment. We're trying to be good to the environment, etc. Yeah, I don't think anybody should play that game. But everybody's an individual. They can, if they want to get into this environmental debate, they can. There's no winning it though, because these people are stubborn. They're living in a fantasy world where they think being productive, using more energy is destroying life. When in fact, the more energy we use, the more innovation is going to be out there. And we need to maximize this environment to increase just human progress, okay? And if we increase human progress and innovation, we are going to come up with so many solutions. I think we have people, I know this is extreme, but let's say if we came up, if all these environmentalists, they think we're polluting the world, killing all the animals, etc. But let's say we came up with a situation where if all the deer on Earth were killed, we would have to kill every deer on Earth. But that would, for some reason, that would enable the average lifespan of humanity to get to 200 years. there would be plenty of people who say, no, you cannot do that. It's destroying the environment. It's destroying these innocent creatures. But that's insane. Even if you killed all the deer on Earth, we would still have their genetics so that one day we would be able to bring them back to life again. It just wouldn't be the original line of deer anymore. And we'd be living to be 200 years old. But there would be many people who would be like, no. We're not the only species on this earth. The deer have rights too. We don't deserve to be 200 years old. Come on, man. Okay, so we are there. It is a human hating world. They're just people that naturally hate humanity, just hate progress, and so they're not gonna grasp that energy needs to be used. And they live in a depressing world where the world is always on the verge of ending, and it's humanity's fault. And that's not the truth. Humanity's innovation, using energy. You're talking. People used to take baths in pots back in 1946 or whatever, and it was disgusting. As late as 1946, I mean, in the Western world, there was some gross stuff. My mom wasn't around then, but I've heard different things. Anyway, no. So people used to defecate, just 100 years ago. I mean, there was no plumbing inside. I mean, in some countries, it's still. Do people want to go back to that? Because that's what using less energy means. It's just like defecating in the woods again. That's disgusting. That's horrible. How could we live that way again? That's nature, dude. That is man's natural state. Defecating in the freaking woods and just dung huts and just insanity. And some people that's glorifying for some people. I don't want to go back that way. I want to go further and further. I want 200-year lifespans. I want traveling to Pluto. I want it all, and that's something I love. I love space. That's a hobby of mine. That's something that the internet has brought out in me. You can learn so much about exploring the solar system. Yet we have all these people like, oh, it's all fake. I mean, Jeff Berwick would be one of those people that would say, it's all fake. We've never been to the moon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But hey, those people are welcome in Bitcoin too. We have all sorts here. So anyway, the energy fight. You cannot win arguments with these depressed people or with these statist people who know it's just a way to grab more power. You can't. So I think we should, as Bitcoiners, we should be like, yes, it uses a lot of dark energy and it's creating freedom and it's creating innovation. We're proud of it. Stop lying about this ESG nonsense. Who cares if your darn corporation fits into some green paradigm? I care about if your corporation's efficient and making money and innovating, and as a stockholder, if it chops down some trees, it chops down some darn trees. Are you making money? Show me the money, baby. Show me the innovation. Like capitalism, dude. That's what's gotten us out of this freaking. We don't have to go defecate in the woods anymore. All right, so there you go. But again, Michael Saylor, everybody wants to have their mining council and try to. Fitting in is overrated. Us Bitcoiners should be the ones. Again, we individually can make decisions, but we don't have to fit in. We are unique beasts. Bitcoin gives us the independence where we can speak up. We are not going to get canceled. We can still get funded. We should speak the truth. If you understand this ESG stuff is just nonsense, and Green New Deal is just a way to increase welfare programs and just keep people more dependent, speak your mind. And I'm speaking my mind, and I don't care about the mining fight at all. But I do realize that we're going to keep on hearing it.
It's not going away. It really isn't, and it's and this is the problem, right? The misaligned incentives and intention structure on the the government side of things. Because people they win their grants, right? They get the money to write these reports and do the research, and the more fantastical they are, the more likely that it's going to get read, and the more likely that they're going to get the funding, and then the government can go ahead and start doling out money in that direction to subsidize this particular next grand scheme of it's a loop. It's a real negative feedback loop, and all of this energy FUD is going to come back onto Bitcoin.
And this is what they're taught in colleges today too. There's no questioning the narrative. There's no questioning the energy narrative. It's very bad. It's very bad to use fossil fuels, this, that, and the other. It's care about the environment above all. care about the sacrifice for this mythical environment, sacrifice everything for it. I mentioned at the top of the show, how can anyone pay $40,000 a year to learn this stuff anymore, or they're sitting in their mother's basement when they can't even party with their friend? I mean, again, that's one of the best things about college was partying like a freaking rock star and meeting people. That was, and you know, be careful about the partying people because you can destroy yourself. Be real careful. But anyway, if what they've done to college, just dumbing it down, teaching these ridiculous narratives, and now you can't even go in person anymore. It's insane. But that's another topic. But it's considered normal now. It's funny what normies can define as normal, which used to be just so like insane and radical in a bad way. I like radical in a good way. That's Bitcoin. I don't like this radical in a statist control freak.
Am I wrong in thinking it used to be college campuses we used to rely on to challenge narratives, right? You know, that's where a lot of grassroots revolutionary kind of stuff would be, you know, born in like secret clandestine clubs in universities or colleges discussing big ideas and then trying to push forward change, you know, going against the narrative of the Vietnam War, for example, back in the day. That's all gone, right? Is that gone?
Well, it's when they can't meet in person, you can't have a sit-in, okay?
Right.
So that aspect of it is gone. But there are some approved protest. They call them protest movements, but they're mainstream movements that are completely supported by the mainstream media now. So if you are into an alternative movement, you're called a terrorist. So like there's that fear, like that in the 60s that you could get into some pretty radical stuff left and right, and they weren't gonna you weren't gonna be put in Guantanamo or anything like that, or have a commission, a January 6th commission brought about you because you had a riot or something like that because you protested something that wasn't approved. So there is this whole cancel. There was no way to cancel people back in the day. I mean, it was you didn't have an electronic version of yourself. There was just only, and you know that's we talk about technology. Sometimes you do have to remember people. There is a real world out there too. So if you do get totally canceled from the virtual world, take it to the streets, baby. You can still, but some people don't know how to do that anymore. They don't know how to like call people on the phone. They know how to text on the phone. They don't know how to talk face to face anymore. And when you shut down things for a year, that really speeds that process up, where people don't know how to act like humans anymore, interact one-on-one. And that's something I encourage also. I'm a big guy into technology, but during this whole nonsense, I have made sure that every single day I am outside on the streets. Every single day. When there were people, you know, last year around this time, I mean, they were locking themselves out in their houses they were scared to breathe the air outside. So, of course, so it cuts down on the, just the whole climate of fear has definitely cut down on younger people starting their real own grassroots movements. It's not the young people that are starting these grassroots movements anymore. They're well-funded leftist groups. And I mean, they're welcome to do, and that the mainstream media is totally behind and just, but hey, with Bitcoin, if you want to start your own little radical movement out there, people, you can now, because you don't need PayPal. You're gonna, if you try to start something that's against the narrative, okay, you will be canceled on many different levels. But if you got that Bitcoin address, and you're able to make some noise, and you've got your connections, you'll be able to get funded. You'll be able to do something. I think Bitcoiners have a real unique opportunity to totally bypass this cancel culture stuff. And I have recommended to people for years on YouTube, like, you know, just put a Bitcoin address on there, dude. And a lot of people have didn't do that, and then they start crying that, you know, PayPal canceled them. I'm like, it's out there. There's no grand conspiracy. It is all out there. If you say things that are just unacceptable to mainstream media culture, you're going to have some financial problems. if you are stuck in the fiat world. You just are. I mean, you're not going to have a bank account eventually. Or, I mean, you're not going to have certain credit card companies don't want to do business with certain companies anymore. It's just a tip of the iceberg. So preserve your wealth with the Bitcoin. It's unconfiscatable, uncensorable. You will quickly learn what uncensorable means if you get censored financially. And you'll see that there's a lot of people can't grasp that aspect of Bitcoin, the uncensorable aspect of it. But you do, you will grasp it if you, unfortunately, get stuck in a bad financial situation under the current woke culture.
Man, now you sent shockwaves around Bitcoin Twitter the other day when you announced that you're considering or will be shutting down the show. What's going on?
All right, that's a great question. I have become really frustrated with the behind the scenes stuff of doing these shows. When I originally started it, YouTube made it was easier then. It was much easier, and it's become kind of a pain in the butt. And just there's certain aspects of dealing with it's time consuming, and I value my time a lot. And because of the wise investments I made, I don't need to do this. I mean, Bitcoin has been very good to me. And when you stop having fun, you really got to reconsider it. And it's just a lot of people. I've been repeating this. I say my base message has not changed. Stick with Bitcoin. But I still get these questions. What do you think about Litecoin? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And like, there's a lot of people that watch and I give you credit with the podcast. They don't see your face. The people who listen to the podcast have better comprehension skills than the people who watch the videos. Okay. And so, like it or not, I'm in the video world, and dealing with people who have no listening comprehension, who have just no reading comprehension, and just want to see my hair. And I have nice hair. That's nice. It was nice, getting hot women and stuff with the hair. Okay, that was cool. All right, but that's a different thing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about big. And more people, they don't know what I'm saying. They don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Like, and they want me to tell them your ICO is awesome. Your NFT is awesome. On Twitter to this very day, every week or so, I'll get a message from some exchange or some ICO or some NFT or some altcoin. How much will it take to do a paid tweet? How much will it take to do a paid video? And that adds up eventually. Like, you start, what am I doing here anymore? What is the point? And the This Week in Bitcoin show, which when I had every Friday I have the guest on, and that always reinvigorates me. It always is like, okay, this is awesome. I'm talking to other smart people. We're coming up with new ideas. It's unique beast stuff. I'm not getting as whack questions during these shows. But what happens lately, some of the real young people out there, and some of them are very smart. Maybe it's because they don't get like one-on-one, polite, conscientious human interaction anymore. But more and more people are starting to flake. You make a deal, you're going to show up at 1. They don't show up. Just the weird stuff starts happening. They forget. Conscientiousness is something that's something I've been conscientious, throughout my, I'm able to be respectful and on time and just, there's just a certain social skills you have to have. And it seems like some of this has been totally thrown out the window. And some of it, I could deal with it when it was idiots asking me about my hair, asking me, to promote their freaking 5th tier altcoin. Okay, I can deal. But when I'm starting to see smart people with really high IQs just like totally flaked, I couldn't take it. And combining that with like it's becoming more and more time intensive. I'm just like, I made an announcement. I'm like, I cannot do this anymore unless I get some help. Unless things change, okay? I need some administrative help here, okay? So I don't know what I'm going to do the next This Week in Bitcoin show. That's what I said on Friday the 14th, which was recently. But right after that, and it just, to get all that out in the open was great. And in my opening of the show, I got a lot out in the open, which I just said. But I did have people step up that want to help. And really getting it out there kind of made me have a new take, at least on the This Week in Bitcoin show, that now it is easier for me to do that show. So it didn't, my streak of Friday shows did not end after all. I thought it was going to end, but I don't do as many. I used to do a new show every freaking day, all right? And I don't do a new show every day like I used to. It was just too time consuming, and there has to be an end to it. And you know, my archives are out there, the 2,000 freaking old shows, and so sometimes I watch some of those old shows. I'm like, oh my Lord, I'm telling people to buy this thing at 500. And I have, you know, I talk about the bad emails that I get, which are plenty. I get plenty of bad DMs from scammers all over the freaking world. Okay, but then I do get. When we were around 64,000 or over 60,000, I got numerous contacts from people. Adam, you made me a millionaire, and it's freaking awesome, man. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I did well for myself, and I'm proud that the people who actually had the reading comprehension, the listening comprehension, who clicked on the links below. And that's what I love to always give, all the links of everything I talked about. I always link to it below. And I'm like, how many people were even clicking on this stuff? How many people are even, but I felt like I had to do it. Now I'm like, someone else will do it for me, all right? So that I got rid of that side of it too, but I really do appreciate the people who did click on the links. Because if you did click on the links, if you did your homework after my show, you were in darn good shape, okay? I mean, and I have proof of that. And I'm sure in this Miami Bitcoin conference, I'm gonna see them face to face. And that is so awesome. I love meeting the people face to face. And the one, you know, about Clubhouse, I think Clubhouse is a little overrated. But one thing that I had one good Clubhouse show where there were people coming up, people who were only in my chat on YouTube, and I could hear their voice. And I was getting so excited, like, oh my God, this is what you sound like after all these years. And they would say such nice things. Like, I heard it from their voices saying nice things about me, and it really meant a lot. It really meant a lot. And I thought that was the most positive aspect for Clubhouse for me. Otherwise, it's kind of like talk radio, and it's like a lot of these young people, I don't know if they ever knew talk radio, maybe. I don't know. They seem to be, I can see how certain people could become addicted and really love it a lot. But for me, the biggest thing was just hearing finally. I like human contact, man. So people have become too digitized, and that's why it's so easy for them to flake, because it's not like they're dealing with a real human anymore. That's something that social media and the internet has done. Don't go down that hole, people. We're still freaking humans. We've got this great technology, but you gotta keep your humanity, and you gotta be conscientious, man. So I do enjoy those little things, like hearing a voice for the first time after just seeing it in type all those years. I know it sounds simple, but I do like that.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I've experienced it nowhere near as much as you have, but every now and then it does happen. You're like, oh shit, or you get to Zoom call someone, or someone, a pseudonym pleb would reach out and like to come on the show, and then you're having like the conversation is really cool.
Well, it should be pointed out that what's his face made his debut, showed his face for the American Hodl. The first time he showed his face was on my show.
Really?
People were shocked. Yeah. First time he showed his faces on my show. So that was for a lot. I've been involved with debuts like that before. But again, at the end of the day, the biggest thrill is when you meet the person in person. But there's some people you're never going to meet in person because they're on the other side of the globe, and then they're not going to travel to your country. Whatever. That's their personal business. So the next best thing you can do is just hear their voice or see them for the first time. It's really a big thrill. But I am really looking forward to this Miami conference because there's so many people who haven't, because of so many people who are stuck in California, really, because there's so many technology people that are in California. There's no doubt about it. And there's so many Americans that are in California. What, 1/9 of America lives in California, or 1/11? I forgot what it is. Whatever it is. I think it's 1/9. So this is going to, for me, I've been around this whole country nonstop during this whole year. Okay, nothing's changed for me. I didn't let this thing get me down, but plenty of people did. So this conference will be the first time that some people were on planes, that some people will see other Bitcoiners, and this is just going to be explosive. It is just, people are going to let loose, and just the vibe already. I am so pumped for it. And hey, this is not this will happen all over the world eventually, God willing. Everyone should be working on having in-person Bitcoin conferences again. Yeah, this Zoom stuff is very convenient. It's very nice, great, whatever. We're technologically advanced, but there's something to be said about getting the whole gang back together again. And that's what's about to happen. 10,000 people getting freaking back together again in Miami of all places. So that's in a week, man. I am pumped. I'm pumped for that.
Are you there already?
Yes, I am.
No way. So have you felt it's already building? Are people already showing up?
Well, not people haven't started showing yet, but soon they will. And I mean, I feel it online every week. At the end of this Week in Bitcoin show, I say, "Are you going to be at Miami?" And usually I have 3 guests. Usually it's at least 2. Sometimes it's 3 out of 3 guests are going to be there. So that's been eye-opening. Like, wow, so I'm going to meet some of these guys in person, or some I have met before, but I'm like, this is the biggest event in the history of Bitcoin. It is. It really is the biggest event in the history of Bitcoin, because it's just so many of the names and that are even the minor names that are on Twitter and on YouTube and on podcasts. They're all going to be there. I mean, Americans at least. I understand if you're outside of America. I mean, it's just a pain in the butt now.
Yep.
And it's a disgrace that Canadians, it's even hard for them because the hard part is getting back into Canada. They have to quarantine for 2 weeks. But my guest last week, I don't want to dox him. I don't want to get him in trouble just in case some authority is watching. He said if you fly into Calgary, you're pretty much okay. That they don't force the 2-week quarantine on you. But if you fly into Toronto and Montreal and Vancouver, they're keeping an eye on you or something like that. I think it's so ridiculous. Canadians and Americans, I don't like that. I don't like that line between us. I really think during my travels in 2014 specifically, I could not believe that I could not bring an apple into Canada. And from Canada, I could not bring an apple into the United States. I mean, in Washington and British Columbia, what's the difference between the freaking apples? There's no difference. It's just ridiculous laws. You got to wait in line. They got to ask you questions. They searched my laptop. That was weird. The Mounties searched my laptop. That was a very interesting border crossing going into Canada in 2014. I mean, you're a single guy with messed up hair. They think I got dark hair too. They think you're up to bad things. I don't think I was on a Bitcoin list at that point, although I talked about Bitcoin. But the point is that's all ridiculous. It should be like traveling from Maryland into Virginia. Okay, there's no difference between the Canadians and the Americans. Okay, we're the same. We're the same. We've got insane restrictions about people flying into our countries, immigrating in their countries or whatever. Why can't we have the border open between us? Okay, right there. We have very high standards. All right. I never got that, and now it's worse. Now Canada has gone insane. They've really adopted this China model. It's embarrassing. It's shameful that they have to. I wouldn't want to live in Canada at all. Ontario is ridiculous. Their lockdowns that they've reimposed. I mean, in the United States, we've gone in the complete opposite direction. Florida is, it's just total. I spent most of January, February, and March here in Miami, and basically some people, people are wearing masks and whatever, but basically everything's the same. It's a very vibrant community here. So if you're going to be at the Miami Bitcoin conference, people don't just stick around the conference. Go up to Little Havana. You see real entrepreneurs on the street with Colombian flags, Venezuelan flags, Cuban flags. Their ancestry is from these places. They want to get the heck out of these horrible Venezuela and Cuba specifically because of they know what freedom is. And in America, we have all these young people in the colleges that got the shade shirts on. Okay, this communist murder they put on their shirts. Here, you go up to 8th Calle Ocho, 8th Street, and 13th Avenue. I was so happy. I see this monument to the freedom fighters against the communists. They've got a monument to the guys who fought against the communists there, and they've got, it's beautiful, and they got the Cuban flag. That is awesome. That's what this is about. So I don't think the Che shirt would do very well in that neighborhood. So I don't think many Bitcoiners wear the Che Guevara shirt. But if you happen to have one, do not wear one on Calle Ocho. I don't think that's a good idea. But I do encourage everyone to see Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are against, immigration these days and everything, and for certain countries, et cetera. Dude, if with the right incentives, I think the problem with the United States is we have this tremendous welfare state. So it's going to attract some people that just want to live off the welfare state. But for so many people, it is just about financial freedom compared to their country. They don't want welfare. They want to have the opportunity to open a business. It's much easier to open a business in America than in Venezuela, obviously. I mean, the government controls everything in Venezuela and Cuba. I mean, you can't open a business there and stuff. So we take certain things for granted in America. That is, we can kind of get down on life and say, oh, it's the government, and the government does overreach here. It's definite, but the government overreach the government, what it did with the virus in some states, in the state of Florida, I don't know where on earth I would rather be during this situation this last year than in Florida. They've been hands off better than any country out there. And so in terms of, we do have to pay all these ridiculous taxes. We do still have, to start a business, you do have to apply to certain licenses. But man, for a person who desires true freedom in some of these countries, it is heaven here. And in Miami, you see it springing to life. You see them treating it as it is their heaven, and really being entrepreneurial. So Bitcoiners, don't just go to the Bitcoin conference. See some of these. I mean, they're not entrepreneurs in technology. They're entrepreneurs in whatever they got to be an entrepreneur in. Being a plumber, having a business. There's really a great vibe here in Miami. And it was not dampened by the situation this last year. But you go to a place like Baltimore, you still see all these places closed. I mean, at least when I was in Baltimore in April, there's still there's so many things are just shut down still, and there's not a vibe. It's just completely different vibe here. And diversity is not. People say diversity is our strength, and I think that's just kind of putting diversity on a pedestal. But diversity can be freaking awesome when it's productive, when people are adding positive aspects of their diversity to the culture, when you're seeing positive things brought in from other cultures, and it is a real melting pot of positive. I really have a lot of respect for the Cuban culture and the Venezuelan culture and what has mixed into Miami here. It is, you really have to see it in person to understand it. And it gives you a different perspective on immigration policies, okay, to say the least, and what drives people to the United States.
Man, you're amped up. I wish we could come, but it's too difficult for a family of 6 to take a circuitous route 2 weeks before entering the US, still borders closed to Europeans. And like you said, it's just crazy. I can't believe it's even these words that are coming out of our mouths. I can't believe we're even saying shit like that. It's just crazy, but whatever. Next time. I want to know what you're doing at the conference. Are you running a karaoke tent or something? What's your little sideshow? You doing a side chain? At the conference? Are you doing anything for those guys? I mean, you said you like karaoke. I'm imagining you in the karaoke booth or something.
I'm gonna interview anyone I can interview. I got my media pass. I'll be in the media room, I guess, and I'll try to get some unique interviews. There's someone I want to meet Caitlin Long in person.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first told about her, and
she might be married, Adam.
No. That's not why. That's not why. One reason is because she looks like she's tall. I'm like, I wonder how tall she is. I just have this curiosity. She is so awesome, and she has a lot of energy also. And I had her on my show early on before she really broke out. And I was like, oh, wow, this woman knows a lot about finance. My Lord, but she really broke it down in such an easy to understand way. And it just, I like what she's doing. I like how she's progressed. And I think she's a unique beast. She saw the state that people don't even care about. She's from there originally, Wyoming. She really just really put an interesting twist and can really improve Wyoming. And people still make jokes about Wyoming. Ignorant people on social media are like, why does Wyoming even have a senator? I mean, they don't get how things are supposed to be. But I want to meet her in person. It's just she's definitely a unique beast. And I was like, oh, she's gonna be there. Like I've never met her before. That just stuck out in my mind for some reason. There's all sorts of other people I want to meet too, but she's definitely one of them because I've had fun with her on the show before. Really fun. Just have a one-on-one with her. But who knows who else out there I'm gonna meet hopefully. But that's one goal. That's definitely one goal out there. It's just something that popped in my head. But she must be tall. I know this sounds weird to people, but I just want to see if she's tall.
How tall are you?
I'm just regular, man. I'm 5'10". I'm just like, or 5'10" on a good day. With 5'10" on a good day, so it's really a little bit. You know, that's like if I played football, I'd say that's 5'10". Yeah, something like that. But no, I'm just regular. I'm just regular. But I've been shocked by some people's height. Like some dudes are like 6'2". I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? I had no idea. Side thing there. I'm just I'm pretty regular in person. I look a little taller because I'm skinny and I got this hair sticking up.
All right, man. I'm gonna start asking the final question, and we'll see what little rabbit holes we get taken down, because there's going to be still some more left. If you had one orange pill left to give, who would you give it to and why?
Oh God, that's an interesting question. Who out there? No, I know. It would. He's already started his journey. It would be Ben Shapiro. I think he started talking about Bitcoin a little bit, but he definitely reaches an audience that is normie and conservative, which could understand Bitcoin, but it's probably very suspicious of Bitcoin. So if he could become a big Bitcoin head, like he could become one day, but he needs this extra push. It would really get a lot of normies into it. And he's got a huge reach. I think he's getting bigger and bigger. His media empire is growing and growing. But he's also going to get canceled financially. He still doesn't, I don't think he realized he's going to get totally cut off by some banks. He talks about other people getting financially canceled. He is going to get financially canceled eventually. So he needs to get into Bitcoin. He doesn't have a Bitcoin address yet. So that is one dude right there. Just, I think I gave some pretty interesting reasons right there because of who he reaches, what's about to happen to him, and just how he is growing. He is growing. So you want someone on your team that's growing and who's honest. He's an honest person. He definitely is an honest person. So that's one way. And who knows? He might. If I got that magical orange pill, by the time I get it, he might have already been orange pill. Hopefully, but you never know. You
do never know. And I just want to come back to something. You mentioned somebody earlier in the show. I've not heard of him, Doug Casey. And this word anarchy and anarchism. That's a word I didn't even really know what libertarianism was until I discovered Bitcoin. I think this is very much maybe it's way less talked about in Europe than it is the US. It seems to be very US centric. I mean, obviously these people can be found everywhere with these kind of ideas and leanings. But how do you describe anarchy? Because that word alone, just like, you think of high streets with cars on fire and like what the hell's going on?
I think of it as it's not chaos, but it can be chaos. The anarchy that I think of is not chaos, but unfortunately, it takes some intelligence to keep it away from chaos. And I think the guys like Berwick and Doug Casey who talk about it, who think it can be implemented, it can't. I think on a small group of people, it's just no rulers. Everybody, is working in their best interest. Everyone's going to respect property rights. It takes a certain level of intelligence and patience, and I don't think it's something that could be implemented worldwide. It would become chaos. It would be chaotic because so many people just revert to like animal instinct and might means right, and you can really if there was no government completely over the whole world, there would become warlords. But if everyone had a certain intelligence level and a certain lack of impulsivity, I think you could pull it off. I think you could, but we have close to 8 billion people now. It couldn't be on that grand of a scale. It can't be pulled off. But it just means no rulers and respect for property rights and respect for personal sovereignty. Just don't what's it called, what's the principle called when you don't hurt someone? I forgot the name of it. All these different, I can't think of it.
Don't be a dick.
Basically, the non-aggression stuff. Don't aggress against anyone. But anarchy is pretty much it's worldwide anarchy, peaceful without chaos is pretty much a fantasy. I mean, it's something. It's something for people to. It does open your eyes. Like it is possible not to have a government. What they talk about, I did not, it was the same with you. I did not know that existed. I didn't know, the government was on such a pedestal. I didn't realize that there could be, in theory, I thought anarchy meant chaos back in the day. But in theory, you can have a civilization without a government. You can. You can. But I think it does. Most of the time, it will devolve quickly into chaos. But it opens your eyes to see how sociopathic most rulers are. Most people in government are sociopathic. They want to rule over other people. They just care about them. They don't care about destroying other people, and or psychopaths even don't care about lying. Just for the glory of power. In anarchy, there really isn't this desire for power. There's just a desire to live. But I think for so many people, there's just this unbridled desire for power that will come about if you give them the freedom, if they have a world that's anarchy. They just will devolve into power hunger, power lust. So that's my take on anarchy. But I do encourage people to learn about it, definitely. And to learn about libertarianism and such. Really, just read. It does expand your mind. It gets you out of this left-right type of paradigm. And unfortunately, the left-right paradigm right now is just a team sport. Most people join it because they want to be part of a team. They want to fit in. They want to have a gang, and they are used to sports and they're used to watching sports on TV. So it's a pastime almost. And if politics is like a pastime for you, I mean, I think you're wasting your time, and you're not going to be as productive as you can. Learn about real philosophies, what they mean, how they can benefit you, how they can increase your knowledge base, and once that knowledge base is increased, how you can become a better person. I mean, you understand communism, you understand how you can avoid certain pitfalls of it, and certain. Learn from the mistakes of the past, and you will become a better person.
It didn't dawn on me up until recently. Left versus right. Red versus blue. At the end of the day, there's one winner, and it's Team Nation State every single time.
Mm-hmm. It is. It really is. It makes them. They become more and more dependent on their team, whichever one it is. The more, the last 4 years is unbelievable. Politics is in everything. They cover the president all over the freaking world every single freaking day. That just makes people, even if they hated the president, that just makes them more willing to listen to their prime minister of New Zealand. They've heard about Trump being like this devil. Well, he's horrible. He destroyed the world. And politics is ingrained into me every single day. Politics is so important. I'm going to listen to my politician, my leader now, but she's nice and she cares about us. And I'm going to listen to she's going to shut down the whole country. And I'm going to she wouldn't be able to pull that off. What happened in New Zealand if we didn't make politics as big as it was the last 4 years. I truly believe that. That even though it was this left versus right, the conservatives were the evil ones. So she was the friendly one, but even if it was the reverse, you know, in other countries, they just the whole political being infused in everything in the life made people so much more likely to blindly follow their leaders, because other leaders were on TV every single day. So you just get used to seeing certain leaders tell you what to do, and this is really a sick situation.
Let me tell you,
collectivism is the default. Individualism is the accomplishment. Remember that.
Collectivism. It's, you know, I tweeted out today, we need to rename the CPI acronym to Collectivist Pricing Index, because that's basically what we're talking about. You know, it's like mainstream economics, people making decisions for the greater good, and, you know, we're told that the price of things are all fine. This is what the collectivists want to hear. And oh yeah, it's just 2%. That's fine. Yeah, you know, we can. You're like, what the fuck are you saying?
I predicted it. It's called happyflation. That once we had inflation, the media and the government would say it's a good thing. It's happyflation. It's happyflation. We should go 7% inflation. It's good. It's good. They'll twist it around somehow, and everyone will eat it up. Well, not everyone. The 80%ers will eat up the happyflation. It's happyflation because they said so. Because you can't argue with the government. They're experts. The financial experts of the government say it's happyflation. It's good. Are you arguing with an expert, Adam? You know, they have an MBA from Stanford or Yale or Harvard, and they say it's happyflation. How can you question the experts? That's a violation of YouTube's privacy, YouTube's policy. You're arguing against you can't have a show anymore. That's a slippery slope right there.
Yeah, it's funny how you talked about politics coming into everything, and this was just an observation my wife made the other day, because we had the god-awful fiasco that is known as the Eurovision Song Contest going on over here this last weekend, and Britain got 0 votes. 0, right? So the newspapers in the UK are, this is payback for Brexit. You know, it's just unbelievable. But you know 100% that so many people over there are going to read that paper and they're going to think, yep, that's right. So what do we have? We've got this dynamic where the UK right now is closed, pretty much borders. The only way you can get there is if you buy £200 worth of tests as you arrive or something retarded, and then do a quarantine on top of that and the whole track and trace. So, and we're like fresh off the back of this Brexit thing. And now you've just got this narrative being stirred up in the pot as well. And we've got, we might have to go back into lockdown because the Indian variant has landed in the UK. And you might, oh my God, these guys are actually believing it. They're believing it. And it's like, oh my, just stop the madness.
Fear is powerful. That's what we've learned. And politicians love fear. I mean, some of them might be bringing up this UFO thing just to scare people. Just
for sure. For sure.
Yeah, because it's nonsense. But it is the fear. When you're scared, people they want to cling to their father's leg, and so for so many people, their thought is the government now, and these government people know it. I mean, it's outright outrageous now how some of the fear is being used. But so many people are falling for it. I mean, you read some of these Twitter threads, and that's what I encourage people to do. You know, when you see something tweeted out, just don't read that one tweet. Read the stuff beneath it. Oh my God, you get a lot of insight on the way the normies are thinking, and it's kind of pathetic, man. There's plenty of people who would be happy to be locked up for the rest of their lives, almost. You know, to wear a mask for the rest of their lives, because they're so scared. They're so scared, and it's just, don't be scared, people. I'm out there. I'm your forward scout. I've seen it's safe on the streets. I've been out there every day, dudes. I'm breathing in the air. It's cool. There's no Indian variant. You know. And they talk about the Indian variant thing. What they scare you about is like, apparently they had like black tar in their lung or something like that in India. I'm like, is anyone familiar with India here? I mean, it's kind of, there are 1 billion people there. It's bad. It's you get all sorts of. I mean, you go into the river. There's species. I mean, it's disgusting. It's a gross place. So there are all sorts of diseases all the time in India that are really gross, and maybe so there's going to be bad things. And you're not in India. Don't worry about it, dudes. It's crazy. It's just like, and they got to name it a different variant, this South African variant. Everything's got to. Come on, like, are you guys familiar? I mean, every year there's different flus. There are different variants of different flus. I mean, you've dealt with that before. But you can go to any country on earth, and especially developing countries that have a billion freaking people, and find some freak show that's there. Okay, in a billion people, you're gonna find some scary diseases. And if you've got a media empire, I guess you could hype it up and scare people. And maybe that's going to be the new thing forever now. Like all these corporations and politicians are just going to, find whatever scary diseases out there and just say, oh, it might come to America. It might be coming to the Western world. Look at these pictures. Look at these people falling down. I mean, that was the China. One thing about this virus, people are, kind of obsessed. Like, was it from a lab or was it from an animal? I mean, and that's interesting to know, where it came from, okay? But I mean, the bigger question is like, why did China scare everybody? Why were there videos of people falling down all over social media and dying? And like, why didn't we ever see that anywhere else in the world? And this lockdown model, who came up with this lockdown model? And who does it benefit the most, this lockdown model? If the whole Western world locks down, a very productive aspect of the world, and is in fear, I mean, who does that benefit? I mean, it's a real virus. I mean, there's plenty of real viruses that happen every year. It really came out of China. Who knows if it came out of a lab or an animal or whatever? But the Chinese government, the Communist Party of China, they've definitely used this to their advantage. I mean, they've used this and so they came up with a narrative, and some of these supposedly freedom-loving countries, I mean, have adopted an authoritarian regime's narrative, and people have to wake up to that. That's the most important lesson from all this, is that an authoritarian regime had an issue, and they made the most of that crisis. My Lord, did they, never let a good crisis go to waste? They didn't let that thing go to waste. They spread their disgusting doctrine all over the world through this virus. Authoritarianism everywhere. They spread it, and through lies and propaganda and fear. And they knew that so many people make money off of fear, and they just kept going and going and going with it. They're still going with it. I mean, they're still wavering back and forth. They're still trying to scare you, like, what was it? Did we make it in a lab? Did it come from an app? They won't answer the question. And part of the reason they're not going to answer the question is to drag it out even more, to scare everybody. What the world should do right now is just be like, okay, who cares where it came from? Who cares if it was an animal or a lab or whatever? We're not being like you guys. We're not you. We're not authoritarian. We are about the individual rights. What happened to individual rights in 2020? It got flushed down the freaking toilet. In a beautiful country like New Zealand, that's just unbelievable. I would have never been able to predict that. Or Australia, who wants to do a fourth lockdown now or something? I mean, they are following China. And so, again, one has to question, China does have a lot of economic interest in Australia and New Zealand. There's no doubt about it. And in Canada. I mean, do they want to fit in? Do they want the good graces of China too? I mean, that is something to think about. But who wants their freaking good graces? If your country is run in a non-collectivist way, where the individual has rights, where the individual could start his own business, you're going to be the most productive country. It's that centralized model in China. It looks, command economy. We're gonna build a hospital. We're gonna build a stadium. Yeah, sure. It looks real nice. Everybody wants something done immediately. That's for impulsive people. But why can China get things done so much? Because they're a freaking dictatorship, dude. You sacrifice something for that. in that centralization. And you might call it efficiency, but it is not freedom. And it's not, and it's state run, and there is no competition. It's fascist. So it doesn't produce the best results, okay? Competition over time is going to bring you a lot of great results, and it's going to bring you real innovation. They just copy everything. They don't come up with anything new over there. They come up with new ways of torturing people and locking down people and new authoritarian methods to stretch out their power, to stretch out their rule over the people. How long can we make this last? Because if they gave their people true freedom, they'd be gone in a second. They couldn't rule like that anymore. So people have fallen into this trap. It's just the most disgusting saying that's come out of this whole year. It's like, look, let's do what China did. Let's follow the Chinese model. Look, the Chinese are so efficient. No, it's disgusting, and it's not freedom. We have the best model here, or we did have the best models. Let people do their thing. Don't let them be individuals. But my Lord, all over individual freedom has been wrecked all over the world. So, bottom line is, Florida is one of the best places for individual freedom right now.
No Karens allowed. No Karens in Florida.
I mean, what is Karen in Chinese? That's what they should be called. That's what they should be called. I mean, really, it's like they're worshipers of the authoritarian state. But it shows you, it's very scary on a certain level. I mean, it just shows you, how people you think are regular, they will submit to an authoritarian regime very easily. People wonder, how so many German people just look the other way or encourage what was going on. And now you see, you scare them a little bit, get rid of that virus, that human virus back then. I would have been considered a virus back then. Well, you've got to get rid of the virus. We're just getting rid of the virus. That's all we're doing. That's what everyone's saying today. Get rid of this abstract virus, which is a true virus, by any means necessary. Many people just they worship their authorities that much. They want authoritarian governments. People, it's scary. It's really, really scary. There is a certain segment of the population that is the type of government they want, and that's just something to contemplate, people. You avoid that, you're in good shape. You're in good shape. But we really did. The whole world went closer to the China model this year. So we'll have to see how things progress.
Well, we got to educate more people about Bitcoin, Adam. That's what we got to do. And
speak your mind. Like you. Speak your mind, people. Speak your mind. That's important. Because authoritarian regimes, you can't speak your mind. So if you give up freedom of speech, you're one step closer to authoritarianism. So remember that. Let people speak that you don't even agree. There's plenty of people I don't agree with. I think the most hateful person of my religion should be able to have a platform. I really do. I have no problem with someone who hates me. Well, I don't like them, but they should be able to preach their madness. Okay, they should be able to preach it, because if we start saying no, you can't, then the people who deny what happened in the 40s with the Germans and everything. So that didn't really happen. They should be able to present. They should be able to say what they want to say. Okay, let them say, because if you say no, they can't say that. It's a lie, and it is a lie. But then what else? Then what else is shut down? What else does the government have say over in terms of speech? So I know there's disgusting things out there that people say, but let them say it. Because I think this year we've seen what happens when you start. What's hate? It's what somebody else considered. They hate what you're saying, so you're not allowed to say anymore. No, come on. We need this. It fuels authoritarianism when the population willingly gives up their freedom of speech and willingly wants to crack down on other people's freedom of speech. So keep on speaking, people. Sorry, I had to go on that rant.
No, it's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant. And it's probably a good place to stick a pin in it, because we've been going for an hour and 45 minutes, it looks like. So it's a decent length for people to tune into. But before we do sign it off, I want to make sure that people can come and find your show, seeing as you're not going to stop it, and how to interact with you best. Is the best place Twitter, or just give people the details.
Right, the way you can find me is disruptmeister.com. Just because I'm the Disrupt Meister. And I'm the BitcoinMeister, apparently. Awesome. DisruptMeister.com just takes you to where all my old videos are. It just takes you to your YouTube page that links all my old videos. On YouTube, you just type in BitcoinMeister, you're going to find me. But Twitter, very important. Twitter, I guess, is the epicenter of the BitcoinMeister ecosystem. I'm TechBalt on there, TechBalt. I made that up when I was in Baltimore. I was into technology, so you can remember TechBalt, TechBalt. I've had that for quite some time, since before Bitcoin, obviously, or else I would have had like a Bitcoin thing in my name. But you can DM me there, TechBalt, TechBalt. I mean, you Google Adam Meister on any of these darn platforms, you can find me. I'm always tweeting stuff. I'll never stop tweeting. There's some dudes who've completely disappeared from the Bitcoin space. They stopped making videos, but they also stopped tweeting. They're just gone. Like if I ever stop making videos, I'm not going to stop tweeting. I'm not going to, stop being a guest on other people's shows and stuff like that. So don't worry, people. Even if I do stop making YouTube shows one day, I'll still be out there in some form. I'll still be, I'm not hiding. I'm not running away. I mean, if Bitcoin reaches like $1 million, yeah, then I'm going to have to like hide. I'm going to have to just build a compound some way and run away. But I don't think it's hitting 1 million in the next 4 years at least. So.
Let's not get into price predictions. My goodness, we could be all over the map with that. Mate, it's been so great to have you on the show and to do this because, I got to know you a tiny bit on the 2 shows that I did for you, but, the way of that show, there's 4 or 5 people all talking at the same time. So to spend an hour and a half with you, going over all of this and learning more about you, I really appreciate you taking the time and, everything you've done, man, in this space. You've inspired so many people and you've helped people, uplifted people, taken them, over $1 million, like you said, in some cases. And I'm sure for other people, that's just around the corner. That might be another 2 or 4 years.
Yeah, be patient, people, and pound that freaking like button. Just have conviction and long-term thinking. And it's been a high energy lifestyle here in the Bitcoin world. Life in the freaking fast lane. It changes every single day. I love it. So I appreciate, most of the time, and this is a warning, people, during the 4-year cycles, most of the days Bitcoin goes down, but there's plenty. You just know in the long run, the long-term trend is it goes up. So there's keep it very positive and get out in the real world. There's more to life than Bitcoin. Be healthy in mind and physically. And so it has been a pleasure let's do it again. Let's do it many more times.
Yeah, and it's a shame we don't get to meet this year, but one day we will, and I look forward to that day, man. Take care.
Yes.
All right. We are done, brother.
Let me how do I do it on my side too? I think I have to stop.